Picture this. You're 400 feet beneath the ocean surface, sealed inside a steel tube with 134 other people. No windows, no fresh air, and no escape for the next 6 months. The only person aboard with their own private space? The submarine captain. But what's life really like for the man or woman who commands one of America's most powerful weapons, a nuclear submarine worth over $4 billion? Most people think submarine captains live in luxury compared to their crew. The truth? Even the captain's so-called luxury quarters are smaller than most people's closets. Yet these brave leaders manage to command vessels that can stay underwater for months, travel at speeds that remain classified, and carry enough firepower to level entire cities. From the cramped 337-foot Virginia-class submarines to the massive 560-foot Columbia-class boats now being built, submarine captains face challenges most of us can't even imagine. They sleep just feet away from nuclear reactors, make life-or-death decisions in complete isolation from the outside world, and somehow maintain their sanity while leading crews through missions so secret, some details won't be declassified for decades. Today, we're diving deep into the real world of submarine captains, their living quarters that double as command centers, their daily routines that would break most people, and the incredible sacrifices they make to keep America safe beneath the waves. Before we submerge into this fascinating world, if you have deep respect for our submarine forces and the incredible sacrifices they make for our freedom, type "proud" in the comments below. These men and women deserve our recognition. The Captain's Quarters, America's smallest command center. Let's start with where these commanding officers actually live. When HMS Scepter, a British nuclear submarine, was decommissioned in 2010 after 34 years of service, photographers captured something remarkable. The commanding officer was the only member of the ship's company entitled to his own cabin. This cabin also served as his office, strategically positioned near the boat's control room so he could respond quickly when needed. But don't imagine some spacious suite. We're talking about a space roughly the size of a small walk-in closet. American submarine captains on Virginia-class submarines get the largest stateroom on the boat, but it's still incredibly compact. The room contains a single bunk that folds down over a small table, a tiny desk for paperwork, and just enough space for essential uniforms and personal items. Here's what makes it special, and this is something most people don't realize. The captain is the only person aboard who doesn't have to share sleeping space. While the rest of the crew practices something called hot bunking, where 2 or even 3 sailors share the same bed in rotation during their 6-hour shifts, the captain gets his own bed. It's not luxury, it's necessity. The commanding officer needs to be available 24/7 for emergencies. The captain's quarters include a private bathroom, or head, as it's called in Navy terminology, complete with a sink, shower, and toilet. This might sound basic, but it's a significant privilege when you consider that 134 other crew members share just a few bathrooms throughout the entire submarine. The reality of command, living next to a nuclear reactor. But here's something that will give you perspective on these brave leaders. About 1/3 of a 337-foot Virginia-class submarine is taken up by the onboard nuclear reactor and propulsion systems. This means the captain's quarters are literally just yards away from one of the most powerful nuclear reactors ever built for military use. Steve Weiner, a former nuclear submarine officer who served on the USS Connecticut during the 2010s, described his experience. The advanced reactor was loaded with decades of enriched uranium fuel that made steam for propulsion and electrical power, so we could disappear under the waves indefinitely without returning to port. Think about that for a moment. These captains sleep, work, and live their daily lives next to nuclear reactors that contain enough enriched uranium to power the submarine for over 20 years without refueling. The Columbia-class submarines, which began construction in 2020 and will enter service in 2031, are designed so their nuclear cores last the entire 40-year lifespan of the submarine. Daily life. When day and night don't exist. Life aboard a submarine operates on what's called an 18-hour cycle instead of the normal 24-hour day. Former submarine officers describe how night and day become completely meaningless. It's an endless series of 8-hour shifts, and the captain must be mentally prepared to respond to emergencies at any moment. Captain Ryan Ramsey, who commanded the Royal Navy nuclear submarine HMS Turbulent, shared insights about managing crews cut off from society for upwards of 90 days. He emphasized that routines become absolutely critical for maintaining focus and sanity. For American submarine captains, meals become one of the few ways to mark time. To keep crews mentally healthy, the mess rotates breakfast, lunch, and dinner every few days so the late shift doesn't get stuck eating the same foods at the wrong times. The captain eats in the officer's wardroom, but even this space serves multiple purposes. It doubles as an operating theater during medical emergencies. The burden of complete isolation. Here's something that really puts their sacrifice in perspective. When submarines are deployed, captains have extremely limited contact with the outside world. Communication with families and naval command only happens when the submarine surfaces, which during recent deployments has been fewer than 20 days during 6-month missions. And here's the catch. Even when surfaced, communication isn't guaranteed. Anytime the submarine sends a signal, it reveals its position and compromises the secrecy that's at the core of their mission. Former officers describe satellite communications with less bandwidth than 1990s dial-up internet, allowing only text-based emails at specific times and locations. During Steve Weiner's 2-month deployment under the polar ice cap to the North Pole in 2011, the USS Connecticut was conducting classified research with scientists studying the Arctic environment. For 2 months, captain and crew had zero contact with the outside world. Critical life events happen without them. Holidays with loved ones, births of children, family emergencies, and they only learn about them months later. The modern submarine revolution. Let's talk about the incredible submarines these captains command today. The Virginia-class submarines, designated SSN 774 class, represent some of the most advanced underwater vessels ever built. These nuclear-powered attack submarines cost approximately $2.8 billion each, with the newer Block 5E submarines equipped with the Virginia payload module costing around $3.2 billion. As of 2024, the U.S. Navy has procured 40 Virginia-class submarines, with 22 currently in service and 18 under construction. The plan is to acquire these submarines through 2043, eventually operating a fleet of 66 units. These vessels are designed for an incredible range of missions: anti-submarine warfare, intelligence gathering, precision strikes, and supporting special operations. But here's what's really impressive about these captains. They're not just managing a submarine, they're commanding a floating city. Virginia-class submarines typically carry crews of 135 sailors, but the submarine only has about 94 beds. This means the captain must manage complex crew rotations and living arrangements while maintaining peak operational readiness. The challenge of space management. Every last inch aboard these submarines is conserved and designed for multiple uses. The officer's wardroom, where senior officers dine, doubles as an operating theater for medical emergencies. The torpedo room serves as an exercise room and sometimes additional sleeping space. Storage is so limited that there's only one washer and dryer for the entire crew of 135 people, making clean clothes a genuine luxury. Captains must creatively manage space for crew fitness and mental health. Submariners use every available inch for activities like lifting weights, bodyweight exercises, and stretching. During quiet periods essential for operational stealth, captains adapt routines to minimize noise, often focusing on low-impact exercises like yoga. One detail that shows the ingenuity of these leaders: treadmills are shut off during certain operations because the rhythmic beating of footsteps can be detected on enemy sonar from miles away. Captains must balance crew fitness with operational security constantly. The submarine captain's unwritten rules. Submarine captains have developed extensive unwritten rules to maintain peace and order in such confined spaces. Former submarine captain Ryan Ramsey, who commanded HMS Turbulent, explains that with 130 people placed in a steel tube together, friction is inevitable. The key is dealing with problems early and honestly. American submarine captains enforce similar principles. Crews don't discuss politics aboard submarines. They don't slam doors, knowing someone is always sleeping nearby. They learn to bend, duck, and dodge to avoid running into each other in tight hallways. These might seem like small things, but when you're confined underwater for months, they become critical for maintaining morale and operational effectiveness. Captain's quarters also serve as informal counseling centers. When crew members face personal challenges, and they always do during long deployments, the captain's cabin becomes a private space for addressing problems before they affect the entire crew. The technology these captains command. The submarines under these captains' command represent some of America's most advanced military technology. Virginia-class submarines feature fly-by-wire control systems that replace traditional electro-hydraulic systems, making them incredibly maneuverable in shallow coastal waters where older submarines struggled. These boats are equipped with large aperture bow sonar arrays, horseshoe-shaped sonar systems that replace the spherical arrays used on all U.S. Navy submarines since 1960. The captains use these systems to simultaneously track multiple objects above and below the surface, from hostile ships and submarines to underwater rocks and even schools of fish. The newest Block 5 Virginia-class submarines include the Virginia Payload Module, an 84-foot-long section that adds 4 large vertical launch tubes. Each tube can hold 7 Tomahawk cruise missiles, giving these submarines a total payload of up to 65 weapons. When you consider that each Tomahawk missile costs about $1.4 million, these captains are literally commanding floating arsenals worth hundreds of millions of dollars in weapons alone. The next generation, Columbia-class submarines. But the most impressive submarines these future captains will command are still being built. The Columbia-class submarines, which began construction in 2020, will be the largest submarines ever built for the U.S. Navy. At 560 feet long and 43 feet in diameter, they're designed to replace the aging Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines. The first Columbia-class submarine, USS District of Columbia, is scheduled for delivery in 2027, though recent reports suggest it might be 12 to 16 months late. These submarines will carry 16 Trident II ballistic missiles, each capable of delivering multiple nuclear warheads across intercontinental distances. Here's what's remarkable about the captains who will command these vessels. Each Columbia-class submarine costs an estimated $6.2 billion for the lead boat, with subsequent boats projected to cost $4.9 billion each. The total life cycle cost for all 12 planned submarines is estimated at $347 billion. These captains will be responsible for some of the most expensive and powerful weapon systems ever created. The human side, personal sacrifices. Let's talk about the personal toll on these remarkable leaders. Former submarine officer Steve Weiner described his longest deployment, 2 months under polar ice, as life-changing in unexpected ways. Like a heavily watered-down version of a Buddhist monk taking solitary retreat in a cave, my extended submarine confinements opened something up in my psyche, and I gave myself permission to let go of my anxieties. But the sacrifices are real and ongoing. Submarine captains miss critical family events, birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, even the births of their children. During deployments, they live in a timeless, windowless world where the only connection to the outside world comes through brief, text-only emails when the submarine surfaces. The psychological challenges are immense. These leaders must maintain absolute composure and decision-making capability while managing their own stress and isolation. They're responsible for nuclear reactors, nuclear weapons, and the lives of 135 crew members, all while having no contact with Naval Command for months at a time. The Special Operations Connection. Many modern submarine captains also oversee special operations missions that push their leadership skills to the limit. The 4 Ohio-class submarines converted to cruise missile platforms, SSGNs, can host up to 66 Special Forces personnel, including Navy SEALs and Marine Corps MARSOC teams. These submarines feature modified missile tubes converted to lockout chambers for dry deck shelters, allowing special operations teams to deploy and recover while the submarine remains submerged. The captain must coordinate complex operations involving submarine warfare, special forces insertion, and intelligence gathering simultaneously. USS Ohio, USS Michigan, USS Florida, and USS Georgia have been conducting these missions since their conversion in the early 2000s. These boats carry 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles each and serve as forward-deployed command centers for special operations. The captains commanding these vessels are essentially managing floating military bases with capabilities that span from precision strikes to covert operations. Training the next generation. The path to becoming a submarine captain represents one of the most demanding career tracks in the U.S. Navy. Officers must first earn their submarine warfare qualification, symbolized by the Gold Dolphin's insignia. This process involves months of intensive training on nuclear engineering, navigation, and submarine combat systems. Future submarine captains undergo continuous testing and evaluation. Monthly examinations cover nuclear reactor operations, underwater navigation, and combat capabilities. The training never stops. Even experienced captains must stay current on rapidly evolving submarine technology and tactics. The U.S. Naval Academy and Nuclear Power School produce the officers who will eventually command submarines like the new Columbia-class boats. These future leaders learn to operate systems so advanced that many details remain classified decades after deployment. The strategic importance. These submarine captains play a crucial role in America's national defense strategy. The submarines they command form the sea-based leg of America's nuclear triad, alongside Air Force strategic bombers and land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles. About half of America's active strategic nuclear warheads are carried aboard the submarines these officers command. During the Cold War, submarine captains conducted secret missions tracking Soviet submarines and ships. Today, they operate in contested waters around the world, gathering intelligence and maintaining America's undersea superiority. The missions remain so sensitive that many details won't be declassified for decades. Under the AUKUS security partnership between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, American submarine captains will also train Australian officers to operate Virginia-class submarines in the late 2030s. This represents an unprecedented sharing of submarine technology and expertise with allied nations. The future of submarine command. Looking ahead, submarine captains will command even more advanced vessels. The SSN-X program, planned for authorization in 2034 and operational by 2044, will produce submarines faster, stealthier, and more heavily armed than current Virginia-class boats. These future submarines are expected to operate into the 2070s. The Congressional Budget Office estimates these next-generation submarines could cost up to $5.5 billion per boat. The captains who will command these vessels are likely serving as junior officers on today's submarines, learning their trade under the current generation of submarine leaders. Advanced technologies being developed for future submarines include permanent magnet motors, high-temperature superconducting systems, and possibly submarine shaftless drive systems with electric motors mounted outside the pressure hull. These innovations will give future submarine captains capabilities we can barely imagine today. The unsung heroes. As we near the end of our deep dive into the world of submarine captains, it's important to recognize that these officers represent some of America's most dedicated military leaders. They volunteer for a service that demands everything: months away from family, life in confined spaces, and responsibility for some of the world's most powerful weapon systems. Former submarine officers consistently describe a special camaraderie built on shared sacrifice. Everyone aboard volunteers for submarine service, creating a unique pride and mutual respect. These captains earn that respect every day through their leadership, competence, and unwavering commitment to their crews and mission. The submarine service attracts a certain type of person, someone willing to choose life under the sea for the opportunity to serve their country in one of the most challenging environments imaginable. Submarine captains embody the best of this warrior spirit, leading by example in conditions that would break most people. Conclusion. Respect for the deep. So there you have a real story of how submarine captains live aboard America's massive submarines. From their compact quarters that serve as both bedroom and command center, to their daily battles with isolation and responsibility, these leaders represent the very best of American military service. They sleep yards away from nuclear reactors, command weapons worth billions of dollars, and make decisions that protect our freedom while most of us never even know they're out there. Their luxury accommodations would feel cramped to most of us, but they turn these small spaces into centers of leadership and command that project American power across the world's oceans. The next time you think about America's military might, remember these submarine captains, living underwater for months at a time, separated from everything they love, keeping watch in the deep places where most of us will never go. They are truly America's silent guardians, and they deserve our deepest respect and gratitude. These submarine captains and their crews represent the absolute best of American military service. If this deep dive into their world opened your eyes to the incredible sacrifices our submarine forces make every day, show your support by hitting that like button. And if you want to learn more about the heroes who keep America safe, subscribe for more stories that honor our military's finest. These men and women deserve our recognition, and sharing their stories is one small way we can say thank you for their service.